Yeah, so this the whole question of the seeds and the seed conservation is quite a long story in Switzerland. So they started already in the beginning of 1900 to collect seeds, and the aim was to collect good varieties for the farmers. So that was a task that had been fulfilled by the agronomic stations and scientific stations, and they started to look what kind of seeds could fit to the bigger market. And so they did some collections, and they did also some comparisons to differentiate the different varieties, to describe the different varieties, and then to recommend varieties to the farmers. So there were really established lists of recommended varieties. And we had no law in this time. That was about 1930, before the Second World War. And already then the farmers very much appreciated these recommended lists, and they took these recommended varieties for their own use, and they skipped the old varieties because thinking, of course, that they are better performing, a better yield, and so on, and they believed also what the researchers told them. So the big loss of diversity began already in this time in Switzerland. And since then we can say until today 98% of the farmers are buying their seeds. They are not really propagating their own seeds anymore. So and luckily, at the same moment, there was also established a gene bank that is today still in Georgia, in the agro-scientific station in Georgia, nearby Neo, and we have a gene bank there. And when we look today what they have collected, we have to say, oh, they missed a lot of species. Already then, at that time, they were focusing very much on species that were interesting for the marketing, for the commercial side. So many neglected crops, like lentils or like hemp, or there were a lot of different species you don't find anything anymore. So even also beans, nothing in the gene bank. So we had really to go. There was a big gap until Prospectiva was founded in 1982, and to fill this gap and try to refine to these neglected varieties. Yeah, so when we established Prospectiva, we had, of course, do our collection work as well. So we have now a collection about of 1,600 different varieties of vegetables. And when you have this collection, you must put in mind, or have in mind, what can you do with them. So the next point of our work was to try to bring them and to use them and bring them back to farmers, because we get it mostly from gardeners or from private people having it in their gardens or in little farm spots, field spots, but not so much from farmers. So, but our first task was to try to bring these neglected varieties back to the farmers. And one example is here. That is what we had with. It was a cooperation with Prospectiva and Slow Food, and Slow Food had the idea to make this dried bean, and they were really looking for a variety that fits to this product. And so we were screening some about 100 varieties out of our collection, and there was at the end we found this Victoire, and that's the variety Victoire with which now the producer is producing these dried beans that we are selling now. So that is one example how to reintroduce a variety you have in your seed library or the seed bank. So in Switzerland, the collaboration between the civil society and the authorities is quite close, and that I would say, when to compare it with the European situation where that doesn't work really very well, so that's one point that is quite unique. The other, we have also an organization, an association where all the players on the seed saving sector are cooperating together. So, and this platform is supported by the state to meet although that's the Swiss coordination for the safeguard of cultivated plants. So that's supported by the state. So also that is quite unique for Europe. And of course, when we talked about all the seed legislation, to adopt the seed legislation that came swapped over from Europe, this discussion swapped over to Switzerland. Switzerland was very fast in implementing a new seed legislation, and after some fight and very intense discussion, we can say that we have now a seed legislation with which we can live quite well. So, and that's also unique for Europe, because as you know, this seed legislation has not been adopted on the European level, so we have nothing at the moment. An old one, I think another good one. So it's better to have the Swiss legislation, in something in Switzerland, with which we can now, since 4 years, we can live quite well. And it could be like an example also for the European countries, I think. So for Prospezerara, for example, it was very important that we have a free space for exchange of seeds between people, between gardeners, between farmers. So that is one point. We really were fighting for that it is still allowed, without any registration of varieties. So that's really a free space for exchange. That was one point. The second point was very important for us, that we have a possibility to go also for marketing of seeds, that we can market them, bring on the market, to commercialize it, so to bring it to use. Because we are considering that point as a part of the conservation. So without marketing, it makes more or less no sense to have all this diversity. So to bring back diversity to the market was a very crucial point. And that is very much restricted on the European seed legislation. And in Switzerland we found a possibility for little quantities very easily to market seeds, to sell seeds. And for bigger quantities we had introduced we have introduced the possibility to bring varieties under the name of niche varieties on the market. So niche varieties could be old varieties, land varieties, regional varieties, even also new varieties, new breeds that don't fit into the normal criteria like differentiate, uniformity, and so on. So they are a little part of the hybrids or the very hybrid breeded varieties. So we found a niche for that, to be able to bring these varieties to the market without big administrative problems. We have to pay for that. We have to register them, but the registration is very easy to do. It's a little text with a photo and that's it. And we have to pay a fee, but only one time, not annual fee that is repeatedly to be paid. So that's very important for us, because you can imagine we have about 400 varieties in our catalog. So to pay 400 times 50 francs, you can do it once, but not every year. So, and that helps very much to bring that. And that are solutions for Switzerland that don't work at the moment for Europe. So we have there no possibility, or very restricted possibility, to bring our diversity to the market. Switzerland had, when they wanted to adopt this seed legislation, they had of course to look if it's in the line with the European solution that doesn't exist at the moment. So we said that we could implement already now this new seed legislation. We had to promise more or less that we keep our activities in our country. So we are not allowed to sell seeds abroad. So we have to keep it in the country. That's really a big restriction, and it will be worsened when Europe will decide to have a seed legislation. Then they can, of course, exchange between countries, and Switzerland won't be able. So then we have to rediscuss it, so that we have also an open space, or it could be opening the market to Europe. But in a sense, in our strategy and Prospezera strategy, we prefer, of course, when we promote the regional varieties that belong to our country, that have a connect to our culture. So we are not so much interested to get to the European market with our varieties. I prefer to see some nice varieties in Germany and promote them there in Germany and distribute them there. It's for sure, for Switzerland, it's for sure not perfect, because when you go to the Coop or to Migros, still you don't know what variety you eat. So there could be some progress be done, so that you can choose between varieties. That's perhaps that would be a vision, you know. But for example, for the Prospezera, that's what you find under the Prospezera label. There you have always the variety named on the package or on the product. Yeah, there that fits, but normally not. And of course we would like that would be the case for every species. Yeah, like carrots or yeah. So that could be improved, but the transparency is not really ideal. But yeah. That's a little problem, yeah. For the issue that we cover, Prospezera covers, it would be very useful to use the platform Expo to raise the issue of access to seeds. That's very, very important. We have heard it today in the Slow Food Fair that for many people, many traditional people, it's not something that is usually possible. It's very hard possible to get back to their seeds. So access to seeds is something that's very, very important. And of course that we provide the seeds in a quality that the farmer can use it. And of course that we have also the legal frame that the farmers can do their work and to multiply, propagate seeds wherever they want and how for whatever use they want to produce it. So that's something when we could use this Expo platform to show this and perhaps to show also some best practice examples for Switzerland or for the European Middle Europe. Then Switzerland could be a very good example, because we have a near cooperation also with big supermarket chains. We have implemented also this issue in the organic farming, and also in the integrated farming. We have this diversity to bring back diversity on the fields. That's implemented also in these labels, and that's also quite unique for Europe. And to show that on the platform, Expo platform, would be interesting, and to go on also with that. Absolutely, we have Prospezera. Prospezera has a lot of collaboration with all over Europe. We are also members of international associations like IG Saatgut or the Let's Liberate Diversity that are platform, NGO platforms, seed saver platforms, also Little Breeders platform, where we collaborate and where we exchange know-how, where we show people our strategy, our methodology to keep varieties. We invite them. We have a lot of visitors also coming from all over Europe. So there's a near and a long-lasting collaboration between eastern countries, also with southern countries, all over Europe. So it's within the continent of Europe, not abroad.